Everything is personal right here. Everything is personal right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Everything is Personal. And our guest today is Ron Davis. How you doing, man? You're senior, right? Ron Davis Senior?
Yeah, I'm a senior, man. 10 years in. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I just want to make sure I get it all right. I'm great, man. I wanted to ask you, you use this term uh dadpreneur. What does that actually mean?
That means I'm a dad first every day. I've been blessed to never have like an interrupted space when it comes to being there for my kids. And when I was playing, the kids was always right there, in the midst of the summers and whatnot. So when I jumped into business, I was just really dedicated to be there for the kids first, and then let everything else kind of procreate around it.
Got it. And well, which I can relate to because I guess I'm a dadpreneur too. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
but it makes it easier when you sort of have this environment that you can work from home and have your kids there and take her. Mine is older now, so she's out away in college. But how does how does juggling those responsibilities, impact you if at all?
well, of course, the age of the kid, as you know, is going to dictate a lot of the time away from them. The younger they are, you would assume that you need to be right there. Now, when I first got into this whole business space, I was just coming off of arena ball and doing practice squad within the Canadian League. So um, it was already kind of unique as far as my off time. I'm right there. I don't have, a whole lot else that's going to keep me from them. So I got kind of started that way. And then as I got deeper into it, the kids got older. And, now I got a 15-year-old. She's about to turn 16. And I got a 10-year-old. And so I've been a single dad for 9 years. Those first 2, 3 years, I was still playing. And so I was lucky to have my family that was around and helpful. And then as I got into the business space, travel became a thing. I would take the kids on the road with me then, so, if we needed 3 days on the road, maybe I come out to Cali or I go to another state for 5 or 6 days, I'm taking them with me. And, of course, at the beginning, let's say almost 7 years ago, having a screaming kid with you at a meeting might not necessarily go too well, but that's how committed I was. I just didn't have a dad. There wasn't a space in there where I saw a man active and present, and so I kind of had a little overkill to it. Now, now I got to beg him to come. Now I got to sit up here and go through a whole disposition with my daughter and tell her the 5 points and why she should come with me out of town, et cetera, et cetera. So it definitely does change, and I'm getting better at it, I think.
You got to sell them. So let's go back to your origin story because I think it's interesting for people to learn and learn sort of the breadcrumb trails that you left that somebody else may be able to follow. So where did you grow up?
In the heart of Kansas. It's the heart of Kansas, Coffeyville, Kansas is a little. It's one of those real popular places because it is in the middle. It's right off that Route 66. But if you don't know nothing about the Midwest, you have no clue that it was ever there.
So childhood wise, you mentioned you grew up without a dad, but what was your childhood like? Do you have siblings? What was
Yeah, I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest of five. Well, six. Oldest of six. And my mom, she was an entrepreneur, and I think that it's especially in my culture. She didn't know she was an entrepreneur. She had a couple of different businesses. She had a child care. At that time, it was a home daycare, and then now she has an actual child care facility. So the maturation process of her, my grandmother, they were all entrepreneurs, and it just didn't, I guess, feel or look like it because they had that, 5 a.m. until 7 p.m. and because we are constantly around them, we didn't really um, know how well we had it compared to others. My brother, my sisters, I got two sisters that are in the medical world. They're both registered nurses. One, she likes to take the blood from you, whatever they call it. And I think the other one does anesthesia. So, um, very, very interesting dynamic. I come from a women family, so I was the first male outside of my grandfather and my father. And my grandmother was the only child. She had three girls. So, man, it's been I love to represent the women because it's kind of been beat into me as I grew up.
Literally.
Literally, literally.
Um, so you mentioned not growing up with a dad. Was your dad out of the picture completely, or do you have a relationship of any sorts or with your father? Or not?
Such a unique thing in the sense of me and my father. Now, his position, he was in prison. He went to prison when I was 3. He went to prison when I was 3, and interesting enough, my mother kept a relationship with him. So I got letters from years where I couldn't read, and then as I got older, I went and visited him maybe 5, 6 times. Um, then I got to college. And, it was at that time, what are we talking about? 2015? No, 2006. Um, he was very active. He changed his life from some of the things that he was involved in. Um, it's really interesting as well because he has an active case right now. Now that he's dead. So from the moment he got in until 2 years ago, he was given a 65-year bid.
So he
And
passed in. He passed in prison.
yeah, yeah, he died in prison. And when he died in prison, that began an investigation with him and his case.
Um,
And so it's really unique. I say my life was stolen from me twice as a child because being around the wrong people, involved with the wrong people, running in the world, no telling what it was like back then for any of us. And he got the 65 years. After the 65-year bid, he started to fight his case. He was fighting his case, fighting his case. We never understood why, though. And I think that my entire family now has that cloud over them because they didn't find out as much information as possible. I think when we hear our justice system say you did something wrong, we kind of go ahead and allow it, and then depending on the information and how all that stuff is processed and packaged, we can choose to fight it or not. But either way it goes, him getting into what he got into, it ended up propelling him in his spiritual life. He became a lot more calm and centered person. And at the end of the day, he had a case against the state of Arizona, and nobody nobody came to help him. If I'm being honest, nobody came to help him. Of course, I didn't understand much until I got older, and then as I'm getting older, I'm going through my own life trying to figure it out and position myself. So it wasn't a whole lot of time to give attention to it. And then when I turned roughly, I'll say 25, our relationship just it became a conversation. It became men talking. Learning about him was me trying to find myself as well. And so I really appreciated my relationship I got with him. It had a lot to do with my work ethic. He has a twin brother, so he had an identical twin. And within that, I got to kind of feel the energy through my uncle. And my uncle actually came in. He started training me when I got out of high school. These guys were amazing athletes, and they were very intelligent when it comes to the book smarts. Now, life, they were wild. They were twins. They were just doing everything you can think of underneath the sun to have fun. And of course they came from Kansas City, Kansas. Back then, Kansas City, Kansas was not a place to play with. It was very, very similar to the Cali blood and Crip world, and the music, Mac Dre, those type of people were very much inside and out of Kansas City. And then his chest, he got a heart, what is it, defibrillator, and or a pacemaker was put in his chest. He had a heart attack very young, probably from all the partying and whatnot 20 years before that. And his medicine was changed, and then a week later he died. And for whatever reason, we were not contacted. We had no idea, and they cremated him. And so I got a piece of him somewhere around here. But also within his case, it just sparked some different interests for us to be like, okay, so now let's find out more about him. Let's find out more about his health. And the way that he communicated with us at that point in time, we would know if there was an actual problem. We would know if there was an actual issue. The problem for me as a young man and a grown man at the end of the day, he was 2 months from being released. And
Oh,
so, in the jail world, nobody wants to see you go home. Nobody wants to, especially if they got to stay. And when you have a 65-year bid put on you, and then you go through your good time and all that other stuff, we were looking at, well, I'm 38, so about 33 years, 34 years he served. And he had went up for parole twice, and then boom, the man dies. So in my expectation, I done worked hard. I done overcame the odds. I done created my own lane and got to travel all over the U.S. and in a lot of different places outside of the world. I'm excited to show him what his son was able to create, despite not having any man give me advice. And so for that, once he passed away, it just even it ignited my mission as a even crazier. And it sucks to experience it because the hopes and the dreams and all the excitement was built up. And then for him to die, it really, I didn't think I was going to cry. I didn't think I was going to be sad, because I hadn't got to truly love on the man.
right.
But, it was a good lesson for me. It was something that my sister, I got a sister with on that side of the family as well. And yeah, we're fighting for him now, and we have quite a bit for his case. The man kept up with everything, every certified mail slip, every document whenever he dealt with whomever he dealt with, and so I pray that worst case scenario we find out the real reason he died because that documentation was done incorrectly, and if that is the case, and let's say there is some foul play there, we definitely pray to be able to hold these people accountable. So it's really unique. Never thought I'd be in anything like that.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure there was a tremendous impact in growing up. Having not only not having your father around, but having him incarcerated, and having that kind of relationship. So, as a kid, uh, I'm assuming you're into sports as a kid. That's really a big focus of yours. Are you thinking that sports is sort of your avenue to, leave where you are and sort of expand your life?
Definitely. I think it can be a two-way go. I got a lot of friends of a lot of different statures that play sports, and now it's an Achilles heel to them because now that's all they know. And now you got to pivot, and everybody tells you how good you are and how it's such it's a big deal to be an athlete. And in this world today, it's even bigger. But back then, that was our only way out. It wasn't. Being a corporate guy wasn't necessarily on the table. I understand a lot more now why it wasn't so much on the table then. It seems like life in the world is kind of reversing in some orders, but mentality is what I loved about being an athlete. It was always play local, think global. I got a chance to be all state in 2 states in 3 sports. So I was all state in basketball, football, and track. In one state, and I was all state in basketball and I'm not basketball. Football and track in the other sport or in the other state, and so that was my junior senior year, and I had a troubling upbringing when it came to getting in trouble and being a knucklehead. But the issue that they struggled with was I was smart as shit. So we can cuss on here, right?
Of course, man. Say
I
whatever
was
the
smart
fuck
as
you want.
shit. So, when we talk about having good grades, yeah, I'm up there, National Honor Society, who's who, sporting a really good GPA throughout high school, but I was also a fuck off. So, I'm doing everything I'm taking advantage of having a 30-point game one night and then the next day disrupting class. But I had to find my footing. I think one thing that I deal with my 10-year-old right now is learning how to be the man.
Yeah.
And you can have a day. He plays soccer really good right now, and so he'll go out, have 5 goals one day, and without letting him get to that point where he needs to be humble, I humble him. Mainly because no one else is going to humble him. They're going to, give him all the pats on the back. It's going to be a glorious moment, and that's what I dealt with. And at some point, I never knew that, you know, I'm tolerated because I'm gifted, or I'm tolerated because I'm athletic, or I'm tolerated because of those, it's a benefit for somebody. And so in my era at my school, by the time I got ready to graduate, we had a graduating class that probably sent about 15 people to college. I was the only one that went Division 1, but when it came to the schools that were coming to see us and the things that were being afforded to us, I was the token. And I didn't necessarily understand that then, and it makes a lot more sense now. Hell, if NIL was here back then, I probably would have been in the top 10 of the state of Kansas. And then when I went to Oklahoma, I would have been more than likely top 5 because I was even better. I guess you could say it was my senior year. And so I think that it played a huge deal, both good and bad. But my mentality is what I appreciate from it, because you can't tell me I can't accomplish nothing. You can't tell me that, I can't succeed. Of course, I wanted to go to the NFL, and the advertising marketing nature that, look at Shador Sanders. He was at an HBCU. His stats are very much similar at the HBCU as it was at Colorado, but the powers that be, they don't respect the HBCU space, no matter how good and athletic a kid may be. So they take a couple from that crop, but everybody else is coming from Power Fives, and so understanding how to market and brand yourself was what I really learned. One of the biggest and best things that I ever did to enhance my athletic career, um, was I participated in All-Star Weekend basketball out in Toronto. And while I was out there, I went and snuck into the Argonauts facility. And just so happened, player development person was there. There was a couple other coaches there. And I got in the building and told the guy, I was like, listen, man, I need opportunity. I'm going through this space. I'm an HBCU guy. I can run, I can jump, I can swim, I can do it all if you just let me put the pads on. And so that type of stuff is marketing, right? How do I get my product to this person? And I took that mentality into business. I took it into the social enterprise work that I do. But if I didn't want it bad enough, it would have easily I would have gave up. So I love the athletic world. It's gonna always be a part of me, but I'm really glad that I'm bigger than that. I'm more than that. So it's yeah, that's it's a dear to my heart, and it actually puts me in a different. Everything probably is going to come back to me being a dad, because now my kids, I can't let them only be that. Like my daughter, she's a 3-time published poet already at 15. My son, he just got his first poem published this past summer. They both just wrote a nonfiction book. Little things like that. But my daughter's also 5'10" and running like a gazelle in track. My son is he's almost 5 feet at 10. So, those type of things are good experiences for me to now enhance the things that I'm trying to do for them.
So when you're gifted as an athlete and it's natural to you, how do you, and I don't even know if this is possible, because I see a lot of different athletes come out. Like I'm a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, for instance. So
Yeah.
there's people got drafted and they could have been drafted in 3 sports. Somebody is good in football, basketball, and baseball. How
Mhm.
do you make a decision for yourself? I'm going to put all my focus on this and be the best at this, even though I can do it all. I can be great at basketball. I can be
Yeah.
great at track. But what was that, pull towards focusing on football?
On one sport, um, God led that. I think that it's probably difficult for some of those guys, like a AJ Brown. He
Yeah.
was baseball and he was football, and he was drafted actually. And at that level, I think that you have more mentorship available to you. And I think that plays a huge role in it. And one of the things that I always struggled with was finding mentors. It was just impossible. It felt like I tried to
You
choose.
didn't have coaches or anybody in your university that sort of took you under their
Yeah.
wing? Because you see stories about that all the time. Like, yeah, let me take you under my wing. I'm going to tell you, and you don't have anything like
I
that?
would say that it was very interesting. Even in the midst of the coaching, you try to create relationships with each one of them.
Yeah.
But even with them as coaches, they're still networking, trying to move up. They're trying to get to certain places. When you see certain schools, especially now, if my coach leaves, 9 times out of 10, he's taking a few people with him. And when I got to my Division 1, which was Alabama State University, the guy that recruited me went to the NFL. So I got stuck. And back then we had the transfer rules. We couldn't sit here and do X, Y, and Z without having to sit out. So I think I inherited a bad deal in the collegiate space. I come from a podunk place. We don't have much success coming out of where I come from. There's not a lot of love shown, if I'm being honest with you. It's kind of like a melting pot. And I think a lot of people think where they come from may be something like a melting pot. But this is a pot that was dug deep into the ground. And so mentorship came for me from your average Joes. When I was trying to find who could impact me, it was you just don't know what you don't know, and being a young man out here navigating and trying to figure it out, I think it was you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. And whoever you go with, that's what you got to accept. So, an example, I had two coaches. One was a former NFL guy. His name is Derek Dodge. They call him the Blade. Blade played with Dion, won a championship, I think, with the 49ers, won a championship with the Broncos. Now, the Blade told me coming out of college, he's like, hey, man, you're slower than smoke, baby. You got to get faster. And I was like, oh, why you ain't tell me this sooner? Because when you can play. Jerry Rice wasn't a speedster,
Yeah.
but he was technically sound. And where I come from, being in the SWAC, he was a guy that we all looked at. We looked at tape. But Jimmy Smith was a really go getter, Jacksonville Jaguar guy.
Yeah.
And those different examples, you just take what you can get. You try to hone in on what you can. I think another thing in that era, you don't have a lot of everybody trying to get there. Now you can grow up with an AAU team or with a flag football team, and everybody's trying to get to the league. Everybody's trying to get to a Power Five. You don't have to second guess it because we're all eating, living it, and breathing it. But in the spaces where I was in that time frame, I didn't know what a good mentor was. I didn't know what somebody that loved me or cared about me
Yeah.
was. And then when you don't support me in the way that I think you should support me, well, now it's the fight. Was it the flight or fight
Yeah.
mechanism?
Butterfly.
And unfortunately, that is just a growing pain. But I would say where we are now and where I am now, mentorship comes from alignment. It comes from being able to trust someone's opinion as well as trust somebody's intentions with you. You and I have had plenty of conversations over the years that may or may never resurface to anybody in the world because of that relationship and that trust. And the information or the validation or the different things that have come from you, I can look at that as mentorship. And
Yeah.
anything that would come from someone else, I could look at that as mentorship because it was a value add to me and it didn't take away from me. So my mentality towards things is definitely skewed. I don't consider myself very aligned with everyone because of my experiences, but at the same time, I have a very sharp cognitive dissonance towards people. And if I can align with someone and gain from it just off of knowledge or interaction, then I value that more than what can you do for me or how can you go about making me money or making me quote unquote happy. Those things are very important to me.
So the goal at that point was NFL. That was the goal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So at what point in your journey when you're traveling Canada, CFL, like at what point did you make a decision? You know what? Or was it the decision made for you that I need
It's
to
interesting.
pivot and hang up the cleats kind of thing, because this
Mhm.
is not going to build my future the way that I envision it being.
Um, two things, I guess. The first moment for me was 2016. I won a championship in the CIF, and I was a big contributor to it, and I got to enjoy playing well, doing my job, and then you go win, and now you move up. That's how we looked at it in the arena world. Um, I got hurt. I got a call. I I had messed up my hamstring 3 games before the championship. And I continued to play through it, and I furthered my hamstring. And then after the championship, I got the phone call from Ottawa Rednecks, and I couldn't pass the physical. And I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't. I'm not going to continue to chase it. Not, and as an athlete, when we go through injury, I've had ACLs, I've had an Achilles, I've had broken bones. I can throw up gang signs with my fingers because they are pointing all sorts of different ways, being a receiver and having to use them a lot. And when I won the championship, man, I had saw the vision. Come to this team, do what you need to do, get picked up, move on. I think at this point I'm 4 years in arena and in between the up and down the CFL. Um, I get healthy. I come back into the fall. I tell myself, you know what? These teams are calling me. The arena world was shifting. Now these folks is on commercial jets, and they're being flown to places. Man, we was in the era of 18-hour bus rides. So I'm all right. I'm gonna go back. I'm a train. Achilles popped. That was it. While I was training, my Achilles popped, and I was not willing to do that work no more. My Achilles at this point, and I hope nobody ever uses this against me. I have a smaller calf on my left foot than my right foot because I was not doing the rehab. I was not about to go through all that pain and anguish and trying to get back to that level, because the medical side of it, you can not do nothing and be healed. And you can perfectly operate and function. But I had a 44-inch vertical. I was sitting up here running a 4.4. I was doing things, and just the physical build of me was like a baby Terrell Owens, I guess you could say. So the Superman cape was taken off of me so quick, and I can remember from there that I already had business going on. I had it, my portfolio was growing. I owned a gym. I had a student athlete development program that was already national at this point. So the blessing behind it is that I was already headed in the direction that my business world was going to take me.
Right.
But mentally and egotistically, um, my goal was to get to the NFL. And once I popped my Achilles, I was like, now I'm 28, 29. I'm already at that threshold that says I'm getting old, right? So if I'm not going to come back out running a 4.4 and jumping a 40 or more, then I'm pretty intelligent at that point to know that my time has passed me. And literally for like 3 years after that, I got calls, I got opportunities. I did the AFL as well with the Pittsburgh Power. Before that league went down, Lynn Swan on that team, and so I got to experience still way more than most guys would ever get to. There's HBCU All Americans that never touch a field after they get out of college. So I was very grateful. I did everything that I could to make it. You couldn't tell me that I could market myself or network any greater than what the positions that I had gained. And so I think that I walked away very satisfied. I did get a championship, so I don't get to go home empty-handed. It opened up my net. I have a network now because of my travel from playing ball, and those habits and things. They've definitely set me up in a good way. And I negotiated all my contracts really, really well. So we're not getting paid as much in the arena
Yeah, yeah,
world as those other places. But in those 4 years, I played um, 27 games and I scored 52 touchdowns in
wow.
those 27 games. So I made the most of my opportunities and I barely dropped the ball. So would I have done anything different? I probably can say yeah now that I know the pathway a little bit, but I've never had a moment where I said I wish I would have. I never had a moment where I sat here and thought about, dang, I missed out on X, Y, and Z, and I had all the fun you could think of. So, I'm pretty happy and satisfied, and I feel good about that career.
Well, I think I think it's a great road to travel, but sometimes I'm glad we're having this conversation because humility is part of it that doesn't enter into your life until it's forced upon you.
Yeah.
So I'm the man. You've always been told you're the man. You
Mhm.
got everything. You're the star. You're catching touchdowns, you know,
Yeah.
women, parties, everything. And then you have an injury, and all of a sudden, that space between you being the man and everybody telling you sort of starts separating, and you have to make some mental decisions at that point. And the mental toughness that you have to go through and build those calluses allow you to take the next step and use that as a learning experience instead of saying it's a failure. I know so many athletes that had really depressive states for so long after
Yeah.
they said, I can't. What do you mean I can't? It's
Yeah.
in here, it's different. In your brain, it's different, but physically, you can't anymore, and you have to do that. So I wanted to use this as an opportunity to let people understand that, you know, things in life, you have to set yourself up, as you were saying, set yourself up for those opportunities that they may not, life changes in different ways. And I always talk about, with people about their goals and, I have a goal to achieve this. I have a goal to achieve that. Wonderful. Everybody has all these goals until there's a physical situation and your only goal at that is I want to be better. Like when you get sick,
Yeah.
you want to become better. You're not thinking about your portfolio and all those things. So I wanted to understand a little bit about the mental game that you had to go through at that moment. And then when you had to pivot, and then we'll go into sort of the giving back and what we're doing
Most
today.
definitely.
Mhm.
It was some dark days, man. You look at, the news and some of these, NFL, NBA guys, suicide and whatever, and they're on the highest level. They're in the millions. Their tax bracket changes. They, but it's no difference. It didn't matter. I was in the arena. I don't think people understand in general from the outside looking in a lot when it comes to with the mental anguish. When the Warriors won their first championship, my family was so happy about Steph Curry and winning the championship. And in that same time frame, I was transitioning out, and I was so pissed off. I was so annoyed because the champion of someone else and the neglect of self. People came to travel to watch me play. I got to distribute tickets, and you would think that on the lower level it might not be as exciting, but when you have real support, it's there's nothing like it. It's just like a business. When your business is being championed, you can't nobody tell you nothing. And then when it drops or when something doesn't go well or something happens, now you got to figure it out. And I think they are synonymous in the sense of mental toughness, but athletically, it's still brothers that 38, 40 years old right now, beating themselves up. They lack that confidence, they lack the emotional intelligence, they lack self-esteem. And I have experienced all of those from different moments because of sports. But then as you segue into business, I'm going after investors. Well, they don't say no, but why are they not picking me?
Yeah.
They don't have this, but why are they not, soliciting my services? It'll definitely be a mental fuck at any given moment that can send you down a hole that you can't get up out of. And so that happened to me. In the midst of my student athlete development project, I worked with Under Armour and I worked with John Hopkins. It's an organization called Living Classrooms out in Baltimore, very large organization, very successful organization. Um, I did a huge project with them where we worked with several schools in the Baltimore area. I was on crutches. There's pictures of this somewhere. So I was on crutches. I got the big cast on my Achilles, and I'm out there like maybe a month after surgery. Blood is sitting in the boot, sitting in the cast. And the mentality that I had at that point was, I'm here to serve these kids. I'm here to serve this business opportunity. We were working with John Hopkins, and it's that opportunity in a business world, similar to getting that opportunity in the sports way, in the sports space. And the hardest part about that moment, excuse me, was mentally I was beat. I was beat, but I had to serve my contract. I had to, honor my commitment. And after I left that event, there was a resurgence in myself because, of course, I got to tell these kids and I got to give these kids all this information, all this detail. I got to be very, on point with my presentation and just all the work that I've done prior to getting to this moment. I'm working with this big brand and I'm trying to, get them as a client, and all these different things were going on. And my mental was the worst it had ever been. And nobody knew. So now you're suffering in silence. And I think that me having kids, man, they're going to be the beginning and end for me because when I left, I have baby girl, baby boy right there loving on me. When I tore my Achilles, they were there to pray with me, to hug me. Like that was my thing. And when I started to really hone in on my daughter's skills, she was probably about 7 or 8 during that time. Daddy, what's wrong? How often do you want to hear that? Because she's looking at you and she can see you not mentally here. The fun and excitement that she got to experience while you're playing and while you're traveling, while you're doing all these things as a young baby. Now dad's not as happy. Dad's not walking around with the same joy. He hurt himself. He's crying. That emotional side. And I will say that for me, the mental aspect, it brought up childhood trauma. It brought up probably few relationship issues. It brought up the dad not being there. It brought up all that stuff was just whooping my ass. And at one point, all I had was the sports and all the glitz and glamour, and shit. Hey, look, I'll tell you like this. I was playing arena driving a Porsche. I had a 1911 in that space. I could afford it because I had all these other endeavors going on. So I didn't feel the same mental anguishes that my teammates had because they eat oodles and noodles, and I'm bringing a whole luggage. We would go when I did arena. I would go, and being a country boy, I'd go get me a pig, go get me a goat, go get me a cow. We go butcher it up, and I'm taking all this meat and food on the road with me when I go play.
Yeah.
And so it would ended up being something where everywhere I've been, I've had to be the big brother, even though I might be younger. I've had to be the mature guy because I got the kids on the road with me. And I think that it is very much single parent. I have no choice but to show up. I have no choice but to figure it out. My mom, I watched her do it. My grandma, I watched her do it. She was 21 when her husband was killed in the Air Force. He died in the Air Force. So the story and the energy of mental toughness came from them two women.
Yeah.
And when you get, like you said, until you get put in that position, you really don't know how you're gonna respond. But I'm grateful because I guess you can say I was challenged enough prior to those challenges, and given the position I was in, you really can tell that I'm way more blessed than what I could have been. So stop crying about it. Figure it out. Motivate yourself. Find other people to get you, and do what you need to do because these babies are watching. And I think that I can attest that to be why, yeah, and how mentally I could persevere through all of those different trials and tribulations.
Yeah, and then the shift of focus on the mission of giving back. So maybe we can tell people a little bit about D Global One and what the mission is and what you're doing now.
So I deal with a lot of for-profit, nonprofit work. D Global One is a social enterprise consulting firm. I pivoted from my original consulting firm because I wanted to do bigger actually, and I started maybe 4 businesses. I had a marketing agency. I got tired of wanting to market myself to someone to let them know that I can help them. It just didn't make sense to me after a while. And then I did a conscious group where we were focusing on political consulting, helping those different groups. We were doing turf and canvassing, the whole nine. And when I moved out here to DC, um, I already had the community aspect down. I was already working with different states and school districts. I worked with the Detroit public school system. I've worked with Calhoun Parish public school system. I've worked with the Richmond public school system out in Virginia. I've had my hands in there because of the student athlete development space. And when we created that program, we were always about helping the kids, not being a victim or a prisoner of athletics. Understand how to the love on your community, clean it up, take care of it. So my mentality when I do anything has always had duality. Let's make money, but let's also have a visual impact where people can see it. And even to this day, it's very difficult for some people to understand that if you do good, 9 times 10 is good's gonna come back to you. And it may come back to you in assets and resources, or it might come back to you in quite a bit of money. But giving back it was born into me. My grandmother, she was the mother goose of my town. I'm
Hmm.
talking about you, single mother, single father. You can take your kid over there, and she'll watch him. She'll take care of him. She'll make sure she finds you some gas money. She'll make sure she can help you with some clothes. And if it wasn't for her and my daughter, they both have very kindred spirits. And
Hmm.
for me, it's like, "Oh, okay, all right, I'll do it," because I'm, being encouraged to do it. And so I was like, okay, well, it costs money to give. And the more we give, somebody's got to eat that cost. And so I really, really, I love economics in general, but socioeconomics always made sense because you can really solve things data wise. Why is the world like it is? Well, I think it's because we're not necessarily applying the principles of providing value and then allowing people to learn and educate themselves on how to use that value. So when we said give back, we weren't saying let's find a way to give people a bunch of stuff and them not have to do no work. We were like, let's find a way where there's duality in what we're doing so that not only these people can have what they need, but they can also learn how to fish,
Yeah.
learn how to get this. If they don't have the resources and I don't have the resources, let's find it for them because it exists somewhere. They just don't know it or they just don't have it. And so some of the things that we've done when it came to giving back was very grassroots. We paid people's bills. We've done the food pantries and we've created the gift giving of baskets and things of that nature. But we were doing that, hell, in 2007. I got a video right now of my daughter and us out feeding folks out in the West End in Dallas, and she created everything for that, and that turned into her having her own nonprofit, Layla's Love Initiative. And when I segued out of the student athlete development space, I never wanted to stop doing that. But, as you know, there's no way we can just wake up every day, spend $5,000 and not recoup that somehow, some way. And so we made it a nonprofit. We started to go in and um, use DE Global One and all the for-profit activity to make the money, but then use Layla's Love and what the nonprofit 501c3 world gave us to find ways to work with other people to help others. And so long time ago, we were just out grassroots, doing it ourselves, collecting clothes ourselves, get a couple of volunteers here and there because social media was just taking off, and we didn't have that quick, rapid ability to connect with folks. And then let's fast forward to where we are today, and now we're in line for acres of land in different states, multiple states. Our nonprofit, Layla's Love, is a partner of a licensed spectrum holder, so we can give Wi-Fi, wireless internet. There are other aspects of what we can do, but we don't have to. The person that needs it is who we're giving it to.
Right.
The people we collaborate and work with is the people that are coming up with the way to financially help us give it to them without us sitting up here having to take on the full brunt of the cost. And so I think that when you think about social impact and you think about giving back, it's kind of like a lot of the other verbiage that is changing in the world. The ability to do it is one thing. The ability to sustain it, though, is the actual goal. And so sustainability became a very big component of our version of giving back. And then as we have matured in our world, you see a lot of these conscious groups, they have to do it or they're not going to get the best workers. People want to work for companies that are doing something good for the folks, that are doing something good in their community, or that's impacting their culture. And if it's not doing that, then we're going to second guess the genuine approach to serving the community. And so I love that part now. I love that part now. I love the stuff that we're doing when we look at how we can make money and how we can serve the community. And the more that we get to do it, the more that we're going to be able to expand, and then we'll be able to really create what I consider to be a momentum field impact that will constantly run, and will constantly run, and hopefully more and more people will jump on board with it.
So, what are the main initiatives right now that are in front of you right
Mm.
now? What is, and are there any actions? Are there events or other things that people can get involved in right
Most
now?
definitely, most definitely. So we have four focuses that we are actively operating and building up. One of those is our MIPA accelerator. Um, it's not government ran. We're not operating off of grants or anything like that from the government. It is different individuals that are really good at what they do, that carry a lot of receipts, and they want to be able to help as many minorities as possible. A caveat to that, a minority, for those that don't know, I didn't know that many people didn't know what a minority is, but a minority is anything not in the male perspective. A white woman is a minority. A black woman is a minority. An Asian woman is a minority. LGBTQIA is a minority. Anybody not from America is a minority. And sometimes the psyche and whatever however a person's raised or wherever they come from, they classify minority as just black and brown, and it's totally not. So when we say minority impact program, we're saying that at the end of the day, we want to help any and every one that is not a part of the majority race of the world. And within that, man, we're hands on with these people. We're giving them the social media, the PR, the marketing, the organization, helping them with grant funding, credit, and bank ready. Making our best effort to put these people in the highest space that they can be in. Given that we're not covered by grants and we're not about to eat all of the costs, it is subsidized and it goes on a sliding scale where we can provide a one founder business owner $5,000 for 16 weeks. That's 4 months of something that might cost them $5,000 to $10,000 every single month. Now we're not only charging you five, but we're also providing you with a plethora of people, a plethora of resources, and we're going to not only provide it to you, but we're going to show you how to maximize it over that time frame. I look at MIPA to be something that is, basically like just all of us consulting somebody. And of course, we're doing it in a bulk group. We provided these people with housing for their business, so they have offices to go to, and it's all inside of the accrued costs. And it doesn't end up being us that is the only glory to the program. The partners that we are looking for, the partners that we currently have, we're working with 8 co-working spaces out here in the DMV, and 5 of them are national. So of course we want to look at how are we going to stretch this out, how are we going to expand it, and that kicks off May 5th. So we're going through our accelerator applications. We're going through the vetting process. It's not for startups or it's not for a new company. It's you have to be I think it's 16 months that we put as a prereq. You got to be 16 months in, and you got to be able to show that you've been active in your business. And I'm really proud of that because we vetted, we've been talking about that since COVID and the adjustments and the changes. And voila, we got a whole new world just in the past 35, 6, 40 days. So I think it's going to be really valuable. People have to come correct. They're going to have skins in the game. So, of course, if they bullshit themselves, then, they don't get a refund for bullshitting. But I also believe that we have some amazing advisors. We got some people that are tried and true in that space. And so MIPA it ends up being something that carries duality, because one, the people that are there, they're paid for, but they're also giving, because you're never going to get your full cost of your time. But the people that are receiving, they're getting someone that is intentionally pouring into them, and we all hope to be able to come out on the other side in the green. Um, that's something that I feel like is going to be necessary, because the minority world is always looking for education. And whether we're talking AI, crypto, cybersecurity, I have had big meetings with a lot of large groups in colleges just last week over all three of those. And in each of those lanes, the main thing that people are talking about is education. We got to get more educated. We got to get more educated. We got to get more. And so, m- just for the viewers' understanding, most of those people that were in the room were white. So if the white folks are saying we got to get educated, then I know that the minorities don't even necessarily know they need to get educated, because they're assuming, hell, Chat GPT has all the answers. Boom, let's get to work. By not also knowing that there are different caveats that you can take from Chat GPT and bring it over to this AI tool and bring it over to this AI tool. And now you basically have three, four, or five AI tools, which is kind of equivalent to a team of 10 or a team of 15. And how do you utilize that? How do I take all that and put it into work? Those would be the type of things that we'll be able to distribute within MIPA.
Got it.
I think another one of our other focuses that we carry is with Layla's Love, and so we've taken that entire nonprofit organization and we put it in the packaging of capital campaigns. And so some of the things that Layla's Love wants to focus on, in result, we want development, we want land, we want building. That's boom, boom, boom. That is the end goal. That is the biggest conversations that we're having right now with different people in the DOE and different groups in the EPA and HUD, because they need it. They need help. They need those solutions. And the aspects of land and agricultural development is very interesting. A subsidized building compared to a high rise might be a difference of $10 million. So somebody in this world has all of the resources to go out, and 10 million is going to keep them from being able to create. Now you're still going to be in the green, but of course the song, that's a big jump to miss out on. I need that 10 million, in the sense of a $50 million project. I don't want 40, I want the 50. And you're operating and you're trying to bid and negotiate for not just you as that construction company or development company, but all of your contractors, all of the wiring people, that from top to bottom. So for us with Layla's Love, capital campaigns are really, really unique. They don't carry procurement, and it's really just you and whatever funding group that you're operating with to create solutions. And so for us, we can go out and we can provide capital campaigns around construction, around solar, around 5G wireless. We can also create them around what we call them as creative gardens, basically taking some of these different land plots, making them look better, providing wireless internet there, as well as putting a space for them to read, write. You know, every community needs it. And there are way more dead buildings and empty, dirty lots in America than they can account. So we put it in work. We have some amazing cities right now that we are working with to create these capital campaigns. Workforce development, digital literacy. There's so much that can be wrapped up in them, and we're going out and creating those collaborations, those partnerships. The mayors. I mean, I know you've gotten to listen in on a couple different aspects of what that we have in the pipeline, but I'll tell you, man, you couldn't have told me 7, 8 years ago out there passing out food and helping people with clothing that we would be in a position where we could impact that in that way. So we're talking now, 30, 40, $50 million projects. We're in the running right now in DC for a $50 million broadband project. And to be considered, I used to, assume that to be a big deal. Oh man, I got an opportunity. To hell with that. We actually are in the running. We are in the space to be dubbed that. And once we get one, they better get ready, because we coming. And there's going to be so many different aspects of social impact and social gain, because we care. And I just pray to God that no matter how far we go with it, that I can remain in that state of mind that I'm in. Um, because I never want to be on the other side of that. I don't want to ever be considered um, whatever the negatives of having money and being able to do whatever the hell you want looks like. I think that alignment with the network has been a big deal, and it is something that has catapulted anything that I could have did on my own. So shout out to the network in the midst of this moment, because there are some amazing people in there that they've been on the phones, they've been in the emails, they've been on meetings to help and assist a vision that was it really started in a small tablet.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last one, I think I said four, but for IP purposes, I'm only gonna mention the last one, which is we are pushing for a really dope venue out here in DC, but we have what we call Spread the Love Weekend. And it is a component that allows us as a network to find those local grassroots people to collaborate with. And it is a 2-day initiative. In DC, it'll be a 3-day initiative because we're in the nation's capital, and we were going to utilize our network to the utmost out here. But it is a 2-day initiative that allows us to network, create a balance of engagement amongst generation with women. Layla's Love is ran by Layla. She's 15. That's my daughter. She's right now in trying to get to Stanford or NYU or Berkeley. Those are her schools. We've visited um, everyone except for Stanford, and the aspects of her. She's been her own walking platform for a little while, and so last year we did a Spread Love Roundtable. We had some amazing women come of all ages, and she got to lead that roundtable discussion, and we enjoyed it so much. It worked out so well. We said let's make it an event weekend. But instead of calling it an event weekend, let's call it an initiative weekend, and let's take each initiative that the nonprofit and the for-profit network are working towards, and let's implement it in the world. And so we're talking about a half-day summit. We're talking about a happy hour, some networking to go along with community values. So we're doing community cleanup. We have about 6 areas in the DMV now that we have outlined, and we're going to go and we're going to clean them up. We're going to look and see what areas we can apply solar, because we have solar in our network. We're going to look and see what areas that we can provide Wi-Fi. And those things being so important to the community, we'll go out and distribute those with our partners and with our strategic groups. And then the last aspect is what we call love kits. And the love kits are really just a scaled version of us passing out plates and food and different goods. So the love kits they're going to possess batteries, what is it, writing tablets, can openers. Have you ever wondered, and I don't know if you all did that on the West Coast, have you ever saw where we were putting cans in boxes as kids and as adults, and we never put can openers in there?
Yeah, it's funny because I live in LA and there's a lot of homeless, and I had a homeless guy who asked if he can store his cans like next to my house. And I thought about it the other day. I was like, you got a lot of cans. How you opening them? What is it? Because I don't see a can opener. So yeah, it's a really good point.
Man, listen, the kits that we have created, we went on Amazon. We've literally created an Amazon wish list for people that want to donate and want to be a part of that. And those type of things is like, okay, we've been donating at Christmas time to Salvation Army and a lot of these different groups for decades, but I never seen anybody put a can opener in
Yeah.
there. And so those type of things will be inside of the love kits. We are really pushing volunteerism. We have an amazing group of people. You can go to givepulse.com and look up Layla's Love Initiative, and that's our volunteer portal. And that's just that's, to me, that's the groundbreaking of the work that we're doing. Eventually, at some point, we're going to do bigger and better and find greater ways to make it happen, but it comes in a really slow maturation process, because we need to make sure that everybody's here for the right reasons. Who are we working with? Who are we networking with? Some of these groups, they got their little rules and regulations, so we have to work around that. But at the end of the day, it is duality. Can we see the impact that we're executing in the community? And are we able to generate things that are economically sound and sustainable so that we're not going back to the wishing well every week, every month, every holiday season to ask for people the same thing over and over and over again? And those are the current endeavors that we're actively operating in, and things that people can look forward to, especially out here in the DMV.
Got it. Wanted to ask you about what what people can take away. If there was one thing that people can take away from your journey, what do you hope that one thing would be?
Bet on yourself. Yeah, bet on yourself.
Uh,
If so many people told me, Ron, that, why would you do it that way? Even in the network, you'll hear us having conversation. It's like, well, I don't. This might not make sense. No, I've done it. No, I did it. Just because I don't come on social media and LinkedIn and spend hours a week trying to make content to prove to you I did it,
uh,
I did it, and I got enough consistency in myself, and I have enough moments where I felt alone that I gotta bet on myself. How else am I gonna overcome anything physical unless I do the work? It's really interesting that you asked that, because just last year I had my body broke down on me, and I was on my back for about 3 months. Didn't know why, couldn't understand anything. My disc in my back have from playing, running into the wall, banging on the ground, all those different things had my body just shut down on me. And I had to go through a little bit of rehab and get myself together. It really, really, really kicked me. Took me back to my Achilles surgery because I had the kids, and now they're old enough. I'm sending them to the store. Listen, I need here's what
yeah,
we
now
need.
they're taking care of you
Take
now.
care of me already. Take care of me. I'm sorry. Like, man, my 10-year-old knows how to order him an Uber.
Yeah,
He knows how to sit up here and do certain things, because I was like, whoa, this is a shakeup. And not only is it a shakeup, but I need to be able to believe and trust that y'all can get XYZ done in this big city, and be able to help dad out. So betting on yourself, man, I think that's what all of us as entrepreneurs end up doing. We may or may not step into that space very easily or quickly. And athletically, I might have had an upper hand, being in the spotlight, being ridiculed, being judged, and being, they break you down as an athlete when you're not performing. But when you are performing, I won't get too explicit, but they're on your jock. And in the space of being an entrepreneur, when you have something, you know what it's like to get that first mainstream article, or that first big time news report, or whatever the case may be. And we feel a moment of relief, because it's like, whew, I'm glad I got something out of the deal. But at the same time, you never get to really bask in that moment, because you got to get ready for the next one. So betting on
that's
myself is, I think that's it, man. If I don't bet on
that's it.
myself, what happens?
Yeah, and that's it. That's sort of the athlete and entrepreneur type of mentality. Not to get too high on the highs, not to get too low on the lows, because not an athlete, but whatever play just happened, it already happened. It's
Yeah,
time to be present in the moment and just move on to the next one. And that's the way it is with business, the way it is in life. And it's the mental game is 80% of it, and the
yeah,
20% is all
yeah.
all physical and what you execute. So I have a few questions that I ask, music related questions I ask all my
All right.
guests. So we'll do a little bit of transition. Do you remember, and if so, what was the very first concert that you attended?
Oh yeah, that was easy. Woodstock out in Virginia. Lil Wayne, Rick Ross. I forgot who else was a part of that. My very, 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 very first concert would have been Woodstock in VA,
Uh,
and Lil Wayne and Rick Ross would have been headlining that.
what was the last concert that you attended?
Uh, Bob Marley's son. I forgot which one it was.
Steven?
The other one. The other
Ziggy?
one. Ziggy, yeah, Ziggy Marley. Ziggy Marley, yeah, man. I love culture. I love different music. Ziggy Marley that was a great night. That was a really good night, and I I enjoy the festival life. You know, it's definitely something to be able to enjoy. You got to really make time for yourself so you can just go out there and burn underneath the sun like bacon.
I hear you. All right, so one more music question. For the next year, you can only listen to 5 albums. Now, you don't have to
Mm,
remember the name of the album. It can be a Lil Wayne album, for instance. What would be
yeah.
those 5 albums?
Mm, okay. So I'll go with Jay-Z, and I'll go with 444 because I'm mature in that album. Um, I'll go also Jay-Z Black album because I'm a hustler in that era. Um, I will. I don't remember the album per se, but I'll go with um, Jesus. I'll go with what is that brother's name? Ah, I'll go with Lauryn Hill. Um, that definitely Lauryn Hill. That her first album. Um, and then the group that I admire most would have to be Boyz II Men.
Uh,
I'll go with the Boyz II Men album because I remember my mother playing that all the time.
shout out from Philly, but thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boyz II Men. My mother was very soulful. She gave me a lot of Casey and JoJo and a lot of those type of cats. But I'll go Boyz II Men. I'll go two of those Jay-Z albums. I'll go Lauryn Hill. And let me throw a wrench into the fifth one, man. I would say that I like who who made the country song Red Cup.
Uh,
I like that. I,
Keith,
I
is it
like that
Keith?
song.
Uh, what was the
I
guy?
can't remember it, but man, it's something about being a country boy, and when you really got some soul and you can just enjoy whether regardless of the genre, some good country music with a little bang to it, a little twang to it. You can count me in on that.
Toby
But I
Keith.
can't. Yeah, Toby Keith. Toby Keith is a big guy in our area, and so I was born on so much diversity and so much difference of flavor that not only going to Alabama State was great for my culture, but having grown up in the space where I was and getting to see both sides of the world, Toby Keith can always ride with me.
Cool. All right. So, final question. Please describe what your room looked like growing up.
My room,
Yeah.
like my bedroom.
Yep.
Ah, man, my mom. So it was two eras in my growing up. It was the era where I'm the big brother and I got to share my room, and it's the era where I got a water bed.
You choose, man. Whatever you want to describe.
I'm gonna go with the water bed era because that
that's
that's a little
that's the
bit
more
more.
fun era. It sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, that was my senior year, maybe a little bit of my junior year. I had a water bed, and it was of course it had a little mirror on the headboard.
Of
I don't
course.
know why I'm that young with this type of bed. I didn't ask for it for any purpose other than the fact that the water was moving while I was sleeping. Um, so I had a water bed. My TV was we had one of those old school black setups where the glass door opens and it connects on the magnet. I'm pretty sure a lot of people had that. So the TV was up on there, the big box TV, and it's heavy. You got to carry it like that, like a computer screen. I had a closet over to the side, and um, I had a little desk in my room. My mom was one of them, man. She was very stylish. She wasted a lot of money on a lot of nice stuff, unfortunately. But I learned that that's the other caveat of being an entrepreneur. Is like shit, money's coming in, and the more you might have that banging month, And then you might have a chill month, and that banging month, you took advantage of, buying a couple extra things you might not have bought the
Yeah.
next month. So my room was pretty cool. I was very grateful for it,
Anything in the
uh,
walls? Any posters? Any
oh,
art?
definitely
Anything?
posters. Oh man, I got my basketball MJ poster over here.
Uh,
I wanted to go to North Carolina and Chapel Hill. That was where I learned that them camps cost a hell of a lot of money
yeah,
back then. So, we got those posters over here. I had me what I didn't know was a confirmation wall or affirmation wall, I
yeah,
mean.
yeah,
And all it was my news clippings. So my mom has a big, those big posters that we can use to write on.
yeah.
My mom found some big ass notebook and put together a scrapbook of all of my athletic and educational accomplishments over my high school career. And before she did that, I would just have this wall of every article they wrote about me, every magazine I might have been in. By the time I became a senior, now we're on the online forums and we're on the news clippings online. And so my walls would be, this one wall would be just loaded with whatever it was. And I didn't have too many bad games when I was younger in high school. Now college, I embarrassed myself on national television and everything. So that affirmation wall would have been real helpful at that time. But it was always positive. It was always good natured because when I would walk out the doors, man, you're getting hit with so much. So my room was a sanctuary for me. It was very much a part of my childhood memories. That's it. That's a crazy question to ask somebody,
Yeah.
man.
I, I feel it. It tells a lot about a person, I think, by describing, your room because you spend more time in your room than anywhere else as a kid, as a teenager. So
Especially with all the damn siblings I had. You can't cross this line. So as long as I'm in my room, I'm considering that to be safe haven. You
I'd
cross
say
that
that's a
line,
safe zone,
I'm gonna
man.
attack you. So I definitely I can appreciate that question, man. I
Yeah.
haven't thought about the room in a long time. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it was set up.
So, Ron, where can people engage with you? All the initiatives, just tell people where they can find you.
So definitely on LinkedIn under Ron Davis. DGlobal1.com is everything for profit. All of the consultancy activities that I mentioned in general, MIPA, our capital campaigns. There's other aspects of D Global One that I didn't really dive into where you can go and find out details about that. Everything with the land and agricultural development is there. Layla's Love is laylasloveinitiative.org, and any and everything that we're doing for the community, for the homeless community, for the underserved community. I don't know what other, the verbiages that they change some of the stuff to, but so anybody that you are trying to impact in a way that brings them into a sustainable lifestyle, that can all be filtered through Layla's Love Initiative. And
Yeah,
um, anywhere else, X and Instagram, I'm Mr. Impact Global. And that's how you can find me.
got you. And for my audience, thank you so much for listening and watching. And thank you for buying my book, Making Cannabis Personal. Thank you for the wonderful feedback. And don't forget to like and subscribe and keep your feedback. I'm learning so much about improving, so I really appreciate it. Rahman, I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be a part of some of your initiatives and whatever we can do and my audience can do to support. So thank you.
Definitely appreciate it, man. I love and appreciate all that you have done and the conversations we've had. And I think we have quite a bit coming for folks. So I look forward to them getting to see us operate and function.
For sure. All right, man. Thank you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching and listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this episode, and hit that bell. Like, comment. I so appreciate that. And check me out on social under Len May or Len May DNA. Find out more on LinkedIn or lenmaycoaching.com. And remember, everything is personal.